Hi Laura, how you doing? Okay, I was reading your writing and I was looking at your work, and yes, to say taking a different approach here is an understatement. I mean, you've really taken a different approach, and I want to talk about that. And I want you to really just listen here for a second and try to wrap your head around what I'm saying. So this class is on personal branding, and I'm teaching and directing to that effect. Okay, that means that we're using this class to build our proficiency in branding ourselves with the intent of getting a job in the field. Okay, that's how this is set up. That's how I'm going to direct this, and that's how I have been directing, and that's how I will direct throughout the duration of this class. Because the intent of assisting students in the process of getting a job. That said, personal branding is very important in that regard. You want to create a brand for yourself, Laura Trudgeon, as opposed to creating a brand for Graphical Wizard or a graphic wizard. Does that make sense? So this is personal branding. We're imploring you to create branding based on you, Laura, the designer, not based on some pseudonym, alter ego, or organizational name like Graphic Wizard. Okay, it's really important, Laura. Now, that said, let's go ahead and jump over here. I do not recommend this approach. Okay. And the reason being is because it's going to brand you. The simple name Graphic Wizard with all the flourishes here and just the whole kind of general feel that one gets when looking at this is that this is just some magical, mystical, kind of surreal approach, right? And that very well may be your style. But in personal branding, you don't want to allude too heavily to any specific style. And it's really important you don't do so because, and I'm going to use this example because it seems to be accessible to students. So imagine this. Imagine a graphic designer who has a logo that's extremely aggressive. Okay, aggressive colors, sharp shapes, sharp elements, design elements, aggressive colors, big, bold, fat Egyptian serif fonts, etc. Just a super aggressive logo. And that designer uses that logo to brand themselves. When a hiring professional looks at that logo, they're going to say exactly that. And I know because I do this literally on a daily basis. I'm looking for a designer for my firm, right? So I'm going through all these hiring packets and I'm looking at logos. And that's the first thing, it's my introduction to the designer. So this super aggressive logo, I look at it and the first thing I do is I set it aside. Okay, and I'm not saying that's going to happen with yours. I'm saying why do I set the aggressive piece aside? Because I'm looking for a very versatile designer, somebody who presents themselves as an extremely aggressive designer. I have no choice but to think, well, maybe that's the only way this designer can design is an extremely aggressive. All I have to go on is really the logo without going to the portfolio and looking at the work, which time is of the essence here. Okay, we're all super busy, so we don't have time. We make assumptions based on what we see, usually what we see, and quite often those assumptions are based on the first thing we see, the introduction to the designer, and that is the logo. So in the situation of the extremely aggressive logo, I'm simply putting it aside. I might look at it later. Who knows? I might find something before I get back to that. Look at something that indicates a more versatile designer. Do you see what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense, and I don't mean that to sound discouraging, but that's how it works. Okay, your designer's logo very much indicates your abilities as a designer. Okay. I think using this approach right here is fine for your personal artwork, but for personal branding, I do not recommend it. Okay. Let me tell you my recommendation. My recommendation is to, and I've been using this kind of approach and directing branding classes, personal branding classes for many years to a high degree of success. We've had so many success stories. But generally the formula is this, is that create a monogram with your initials LT, create a monogram, and then add your name and your discipline to that monogram. Okay, so watch my cursor. So your monogram, let's say it's a circular monogram. LT, Okay, Laura Trudgeon, graphic design. That's it. That's it. Okay. And it's not saying that it can't be creative. It can. It depends on how you create the logo. I mean, the monogram. Monograms can be extremely creative. But I think that is going to be a better formula here. Now, do you have to do that? No, you do not. You are more than welcome to pursue one of these approaches. I just, as I said, I do not recommend it specifically for the learning outcomes and the objectives of this specific class. Okay, so in a perfect world, I'd like to see you work out a monogram and then brand yourself as Laura Trudgeon, graphic designer. Okay, as I said, you don't have to do that. If you want to pursue this approach, we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so back to your writing. Okay, I think I pretty much addressed everything. So as far as the mark goes, like I said, I mean, I think out of the three that you have included here, I think this is probably the most effective. Um, So again, it's your call. I mean, if you want to go ahead and pursue this, please have at it. But I would recommend doing different. Now, if you want to go ahead and create a monogram and rework your branding, that's fantastic. Go ahead and do so. Resubmit here. I'll be more than happy to provide additional comments and recommendations and critiques. So. If you do, just go ahead and post it in this forum, or go ahead and post it to the general questions area of the discussion board. But try to get your logo wrapped up quickly, because we're going to have to start applying it to other collateral materials, namely the resume, etc. And moving forward, when the other collateral materials that are associated with this branding package. So I hope my comments make sense. Again, it is not my intent to sound discouraging at all, Laura. I hope you understand that. I'm trying to be as nurturing as possible and trying to adhere to the learning outcomes and course objectives as closely as I possibly can here, while allowing you the creative latitude and freedom to move in the direction that you feel has the most potential. So it's wide open. You can please do whatever you want, but consider my my comments. Okay, so if you do want to just go right ahead and repost if you care to move in that direction. Otherwise, I would recommend this mark right here. Okay, the most important thing at this point really is, if you have any questions at all, go ahead go ahead and let me know, and I'll provide as much clarification and answers as I possibly can. All right, great start. Thanks, Laura.